Rahim. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the floor. First of all, I would also like to join my colleagues to thank the CRC for the job well done. Here, we are speaking on the Constitution, draft Constitution. And to be frankly honest to my members, from my electorate, of all the view I had from them, is to add my voice to make this draft to be adopted. Madam Speaker, a constitution, draft constitution, or a constitution as a particular, cannot be a tailor-made. You should all know that as far as constitutions are concerned, other sections will favor you, others will not favor you. But at the end of the day, you have to accept, one day I may be at fault on that particular section, but another day we might be successful in that particular section. So on that, Madam Speaker, of all what we are saying, let us be frank enough to accept this draft constitution. A lot has been said, and the commission also has been going around consulting people about their opinion. And all those things cannot also be factored in this draft constitution. But what we will understand is that at least most of the important issues have been elaborated in the Constitution and well spelled. So I think, Madam Speaker, there is nothing wrong for people to say their opinions. But what we should understand is that this draft Constitution, a lot has been spent on the side of finance, time, energy. A lot of resources have been spent. So, though resources can be spent on something and it will not be viable, but in other part, as far as this draft constitution is concerned, we cannot assume everything what you want is going to be factored in the constitution. And actually, as previous speaker said, we have already sworn to defend our constitution, to defend our opinion right, but whatever is happening, let's not see it politically. We all know as a calf, if you leave him, it will go to the mother. But whatever is happening, let us not see each other as that. Because me, anytime I stood here, I always try to give my advice and always try to see what is the reality. It's true, Madam Speaker, people have to say their opinion, which it was not spelled in the Constitution. But I have got almost calls, even letters from my constituency to advise me and to give their reasons why I should adopt. Almost 80% of my people are saying yes to this Constitution, as far as we are concerned. So it's not part of, even if you interpret it another way around, the other part of the people will say, but this one should be removed, or this one which I like. But at the end of the day, you all have to come to terms and agree. So as we are going, changes would be happening. As we said, there are other, the former one, that is the 1997 Constitution. Some have been changed according to how we are going and how generation is going. But notwithstanding, let's accept that we cannot make this as a tailor-made, that the shirt and the trouser will suit me. But you can assume that I can put up the shirt, but the trouser maybe one day, it will also fit me. So on that note, Madam Speaker, as I said, there are other issues which I have to elaborate, though, as I said, it cannot be changed. It can be changed, but it cannot be changed like anything we want. Let's change that. At the end of the day, will go without any constitution because it will not suit everybody. But on that, as far as the constitution is concerned, like, first of all, the citizenship. Okay, we all assume, as it spells here, one of your parents should be born in the country. If you look at our population, we are not that many. So comparing strangers who are coming in and out, and even if you lodge a stranger at your home, and he came with a young girl, before he lived there, maybe what he's going to get on birth will be more than what he will have in your compound. So we should look at that side. At least, though I know it will be not good for others, but as I said, it's my opinion. You go to China, almost every, as a citizenship, the mother and the father will be a citizen of China. So at the end of the day, even we assume that the grandparents will be a Chinese. So here, if you said any of it, at the end of the day, the ratio will be higher than us. Let us be frank to each other. Counting with the population of the number of strangers in country, even more than us. So at the end of the day, if you start to cancel 1:1, we're left without any. So this is my opinion, and this is how I look at it. Other countries is fine, go to America, but yet still, the population of those citizens, if you add them together, it will not be more than 15 or 20%. Still now, the citizen of American will be higher than the strangers. And those people are still controlling the way you should get your certificate of birth in the citizen of the country. This is simple thing. You want to be a citizen, go through the right procedure, and you get your citizenship. Nobody denies that. So, Madam Speaker, this is how I see as far as the citizenship is concerned. As I said, I have seen here 7 administrative areas. So I would love, at least these administrative areas depend on the councils and on the regions. If we would have got our part of our region as Sierra North to be its own region also, I would love that. But maybe gradually, people will, the members, subsequent members will consider at least we have our own region to add it for other regions, because it's a large region, and if you compare it to other regions, still now we are joining one region, that is Janjambure. So, but notwithstanding, if they would have, because we have already stated it, and it was being a concern to us, so that we can have our own region, that is Sierra North. So, but unfortunately, it didn't factor here. So, the other one, Madam Speaker, is true, as I said. The other thing I have seen, you see, if you are in a position, you should also foresee for future. Today we are all members. One day one will be a president, who knows? So actually, giving the whole power to the National Assembly member, the executive, like the president, didn't have that power. One day you need it and you cannot get it. But I said, what is the most important, if the president has appointed, not matter of nominating and bringing it to the assembly for us to approve. But what is important here is, let it factor all the criteria, how a minister should be appointed. And what I didn't see here, at least that particular minister should have an institutional memory. That's the most important thing, and other qualification. But if you bring a minister in an institution where he didn't have that institutional memory, that's always the problem on appointment. But what is most important, I think, for me, one day, among us can be a president. And that day you want to appoint, and your appointment will not be approved without coming here. So that's the person, actually, I really wanted to see that at least we give some power to the executive, like the president, so that whatever he's appointing, let it have all the criteria. The only one I didn't see here is the person should have an institutional memory. Madam Speaker, the other one also is term limit. Wherever we have problems, especially Africa, it's about long stay of office. If I know I leave office next year, I'll try all possible means to see how best I can able to cope with people because I know I'll leave that office. The Mandinka proverbs normally said, a bull which is going to be slaughtered tomorrow, you need not to measure the horn. So if he knows that he is leaving, obviously everybody who wants to be in that office will also be accepting that this is just about time. One day he will remove that. But somebody who will be staying there, you never know whether he will die before you or you will die before him. Obviously, you will be in a rush for him to be removed. So African leaders, this is not even the president, even our association. You will be in the association, say that association, you are the president of that association. People wanted to remove you, your time limit is elapsed, you don't want to leave. And at the end of the day, you said, I don't have anything in this association, but you will not leave. So these are problems. So we try to make sure that this time limit at least is good in the draft constitution, because at the end of the day, everybody will know that 5 years, after 5 years, the next 10 years, it's not short if you are healthy. 10 years is not that long if you are healthy. So I think we should bear with that. And the second term, we left by yourself. The first time people will vote for you, but the second one is just like us. All what we are saying, our electors are hearing from us, and they send us here as a representative. They know what we are saying, and on that note, they will see how they will be voted for me for the next 5 years. So whoever is here, you know from here whether I will be voted for the second term, because it will left by yourself. The first one, you will say everything what will be good for them, for you, but at the end of the day, they will assess that what you have been saying to them, whether that was what has happened, then they will put you in on the second term. So for that second term, at the end of it, you also will know that that's my end of the position. So being that I think to stay long in a position, this is why even the civil servant, you are pensioned at the age of 60, because you cannot be staying there for life. There is no position which you may assume you stay there for life. So, Madam Speaker, that's my concern on the term limit. This is the problem in most African presidents. We will take for a period and say, let's renew it, or let's change the constitution. And what we wanted to understand here, Honorable Minister, is we are saying 10 years or 2 terms. All what we know and all our electors know is 10 years in a position. Already he stood for 5 years and he's looking for another 5 years. That's the way most of the electors are seeing it. And I think that's the...
Order, or are you referring to him?
Just
you want clearance from him?
Yes, that's what I think. Can I? Yes. Honorable Speaker, the time limit, we have to be really careful in personalizing it. If you look at Schedule 4, it is saying effective date means the date of the coming into force of this Constitution, which shall be the date after the day this Constitution is adopted at a national referendum. That is the effective date. So in essence, what it is saying in terms of the term limit, like the member said, in fact, even the National Assembly, there is a transition. We do not break. What it says here is that 5, term of office of the incumbent president, that the person duly elected president of the Republic prior to the effective date and serving in office as at the effective date shall be the first president of the Third Republic of the Gambia and shall continue to hold the office of president in accordance with the provisions of this Constitution. So essentially what this is simply saying is that by having the Constitution adopted, it comes into force. So when it comes into force, whoever is there will be considered to be the first president of the Third Republic. That's all it is saying. And it's continuing to serve. So in essence, it is not directed at a person, it's directed at an office. And if we start looking at a person, we may confuse the whole agenda as if there's an agenda against a person.
Thank you for that. I think all what we wanted to know is it's already been cleared. And as he said, we are trying to adopt the Constitution. And at the end of the day, if the Constitution is adopted while anybody who is in position will start it even wherever he is. So all what I wanted to elaborate was that don't stay in office. So at least we should factor that very well. Madam Speaker, the other one is I think
Honorable, you see, that is why it is very important to know the scope of the debate, that we are dealing with the principles. But once you start going into the details, there may be a tendency, to slide. And maybe that may even cause some misinterpretation. And I don't know. I'm not saying that it is, but it is a possibility. So if we can just confine our interventions, debates on the merits and principles generally of the bill, I think we would be doing the proper thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As I said, a lot has been said. I here stood and represent my constituency. And as I said, what I hear from them, and during my consultation with them, they really accept the draft constitution. Almost vast majority whom I have been hearing from, and I even got a letter from the youth of that constituency of their concern to make sure that I try to be part of the members who are going to accept this draft constitution. So on that note, Madam Speaker, I just said these are my opinion and the opinion of my constituency that we join in hand so that we can able to adopt this draft constitution. On that note, Madam Speaker, I take my seat.